the world did not suddenly become dangerous. It revealed something dangerous that had been quietly building for years. If a major power war began tomorrow, the real question is not how advanced America's weapons are. It's how long America could keep fighting. During World War II, the United States was the arsenal of democracy. Factories ran non-stop. Supply lines expanded. Allies were armed at scale. Today, that foundation is thinner than most people realize. Weapon stockpiles can be depleted faster than they can be replenished. Production lines move slowly. Costs rise, timelines slip. And wars like Ukraine have exposed a hard truth. Modern conflict is not just about technology, it's about endurance. This isn't a story of collapse. It's a story of warning. And if you care about deterrence, security, or the future balance of power, this conversation matters. Stay with me. Because before we ask how America fights the next war, we need to understand what America can still build and what it can't. The debate over America's defense readiness often sounds abstract. Budgets, programs, contractors, acronyms. But strip it down, and the issue is brutally simple. Can the United States produce, replace, and sustain military power at the speed modern war demands? The defense industrial base is not just 5 major contractors. It's a vast ecosystem. Prime firms, software companies, small suppliers, shipyards, arsenals, depots, workers whose skills take years to develop and seconds to lose. For decades, this system worked under a single assumption. America would have time to ramp up production, time to adjust supply chains, time to rely on technological superiority instead of volume. That assumption no longer holds. Wars today burn through munitions faster than peacetime planners ever expected. Precision is no longer rare. Attrition is no longer outdated. And efficiency, once the system's pride, has quietly become its weakness. To understand how America reached this point, we have to go backward to the choices that reshaped the system long before today's crises appeared. For most of the 20th century, America treated industrial capacity as a strategic asset, not just something to be optimized, but something to be preserved. That mindset changed after the Cold War ended. The collapse of the Soviet Union created a powerful belief. Great power war was over. A peace dividend had arrived. Bases were closed. Factories consolidated. Production lines slowed or disappeared. Defense companies merged to survive a shrinking market. At the time, these decisions looked rational. Efficiency replaced redundancy. Global supply chains lowered costs. Defense became a buyer, not a builder. But industrial systems, remember what you stopped doing. Shipbuilding moved overseas. Munitions production became episodic instead of continuous. Small suppliers, often the only ones making specialized components, left the market entirely. And as defense research funding declined, innovation shifted elsewhere. Today, most technological breakthroughs come from the commercial sector, not the Pentagon. The result is not sudden failure. It's gradual erosion, a system optimized for peacetime budgeting, now struggling to meet wartime reality. The warning signs didn't arrive all at once. They arrived as stress tests. One of the clearest came at sea. The U.S. Navy planned to build 2 Virginia-class attack submarines per year. Eventually, 3. Instead, production slowed to barely more than 1. Not because the design failed, not because demand disappeared, but because the system behind the shipyards broke under pressure. Skilled workers were missing. Suppliers couldn't deliver on time. Costs rose faster than schedules could absorb. Then came Ukraine. Artillery shells, 155 millimeter rounds, were consumed in days at rates that took months to replace. Factories that had been idled or minimized could not simply restart. Production could be increased, but only slowly and at great expense. This wasn't a temporary glitch. It was a structural signal. Modern war punishes systems built for efficiency over resilience. If you're finding this unsettling, you should. Because the real vulnerability wasn't the battlefield. It was the factory floor. Behind every delayed submarine and every scarce artillery shell is a system most people never see. The defense industrial base mirrors the broader economy. When supply chains fracture, defense feels it too. When skilled labor is scarce, shipyards compete with construction sites and factories across the country. But defense has an added problem. Many of its most critical suppliers are small, specialized businesses. They make one component for one customer on uncertain budgets. When funding arrives late or not at all, those companies don't wait. They leave. Global supply chains added efficiency but removed visibility. Executives often couldn't map their own dependencies. COVID exposed that fragility. Ukraine confirmed it. Even government-owned arsenals depend heavily on private contractors to operate. There is no clean line between public and private production anymore. This system can surge, but only if policy, funding, labor, and logistics move together. When even one breaks, the whole mechanism stalls. And that leads to the next pressure point, one that money alone cannot fix. The second shock is not financial. It's human. Welders, electricians, machinists, engineers, these skills take years to build and minutes to lose. Shipyards can raise wages, but workers still face long commutes, high living costs, and better offers elsewhere. Training pipelines leak. You can't surge experience. At the same time, warfare itself is changing. Cheap drones now threaten million-dollar missiles. Attritable systems challenge exquisite platforms. Conflicts reward volume, speed, and adaptability, not just precision. America's advantage was never just better weapons. It was the ability to replace them. That advantage is under strain. The answer is not choosing high-end systems or mass production. It's both. New initiatives aim to shift the cost curve, software-defined systems, autonomy, rapid iteration, not to replace traditional power, but to reinforce it. Because if the next war arrives, technology alone won't decide it. Production will. The strain on ordinary Americans is real, not in abstract numbers, but in factories, shipyards, and labs. Regions like Groton, Connecticut, face shortages of highly skilled labor. Even with higher pay, workers weigh family, healthcare, cost of living, and commute. One job isn't enough to guarantee supply. Solutions exist, but they require coordination. Community colleges feed apprenticeships. K-12 programs spark interest early. Immigration policies supplement STEM talent. Robotics and advanced manufacturing reduce reliance on scarce specialists. Yet progress is uneven. Each region must adapt locally while integrating nationally. Advanced methods from allies, Korea, Japan, offer lessons. Commercial innovations, from auto manufacturing to software, can accelerate production. But none of this is instantaneous. Each initiative requires time, oversight, and persistence. Without it, even the most advanced military remains vulnerable, not on the battlefield, but in its ability to fight. And that brings us to the heart of the issue, execution. Execution is the final frontier. You can invest, plan, and innovate, but without follow-through, nothing reaches the warfighter. Initiatives like the Replicator program aim to solve this. Focus attention, set ambitious goals, and drive results across the entire system. Replicator 1 targeted attritable autonomy. Replicator 2 focused on counter-unmanned aerial systems. Both prioritize urgency over business as usual, and both respond directly to what the warfighter demands. The challenge is continuity. Companies move through research, prototyping, and production, but gaps, so-called valleys of death, can stop a capability before it reaches scale. Coordination across multiple agencies, services, Congress, and private industry is essential. The Atlantic Council's Reforge Commission now watches these efforts, asking the same question the United States faced in World War II. Can we rebuild an industrial base capable of sustaining a great power fight? The answer will determine not just readiness, but deterrence itself. As we look ahead, the task is clear. Rebuilding America's defense industrial base isn't a quick fix, it's a long-term commitment. It's about balancing innovation with production and resilience with efficiency. It's about maintaining technological superiority while ensuring that weapons can be produced in volume, quickly, and reliably. It's about making sure that our capabilities match the challenges ahead, whether they come in the form of cyber threats, drones, or traditional military conflicts. And ultimately, it's about the decisions we make today, how we allocate resources, how we prioritize, and how we ensure that the systems we build don't just survive, but thrive in the next era of warfare. The world has turned dangerous. Now the question is, can we turn the tide? Because the next challenge may not wait until we're ready. And in that, we face a stark choice. Will we act in time, or will the consequences of inaction be what we're left to fight?